This is WEJF 90.3 FM, Palm Bay. Good afternoon on this Wednesday. It's time for Helping Seniors of Brevard, the program that's heard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock, with your host, Kerry Fink, and our special guest for today, Dr. Lee Sheldon. Let's get into our show here in just a moment, but first, I'd like to invite you to take part in one of our favorite events. It's a great tradition that continues for helping seniors of Brevard. It's called Choose Your Adventure Car Raffle. In fact, this year, one lucky winner will have an opportunity to choose from several great new cars for 2026. Now, whether you have a sporty love of a convertible, a rugged pickup, a family SUV, or a stylish sedan, there's something here for everyone at our 10th annual Helping Seniors of Brevard Choose Your Experience and Your Adventure event coming up. That's our big car raffle. Now, the drawing will be held on Sunday, October the 25th, and it's going to be at the museum, the Muscle Car Museum in Melbourne. And the best part is that you don't have to be present to win, but every raffle ticket will serve as your admission to this fun filled afternoon at the nation's most remarkable private car museum anywhere in our country. It's very special. You've heard Kerry Fink and myself talk about that in the past. But most importantly, right now, every ticket purchase will help helping seniors of Brevard continue to provide free information, education, advocacy, and our senior information helpline for seniors and their families throughout Brevard County. Tickets are just $25 each or five for $100. And to purchase your ticket, just call 321 473 7770. Again, 321 473 7770, or visit helpingseniorscarraffle.com. Again, that's helpingseniorscarraffle.com. We deeply appreciate your support for helping seniors of Brevard. And as our co founder, Joe Steckler, always reminded us, keep it going. Seniors need us. And that's what we are trying to do. And we're having success doing that thanks to all of our friends who have helped out in the past. We hope to see you on October the 25th, or better yet, behind the wheel of your brand new car. That's coming up in October, and we look forward to seeing you again on October the 25th. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard for this Wednesday. Kerry Fink and Dr. Lee Sheldon will be here in just a moment.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Barton, owner of Seniors Helping Seniors. As both a professional in the senior care industry and a family caregiver myself, I understand that caregiving can be one of the most meaningful and one of the most challenging roles that we'll ever take on. Whether you're caring for a parent, spouse, family member, or a close friend, it's easy to become so focused on their needs that you forget to take care of yourself. That's why I'm excited to invite you to the Helping Seniors and AARP Florida Caregivers Conference on Thursday, July 16th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard, located at 1344 South Apollo Boulevard in Melbourne. I'll be serving as moderator as we bring together local experts to share practical information, helpful resources, and real world strategies to support you throughout your caregiving journey. We'll discuss caregiver wellness, planning for the future, navigating challenges, and the many community resources available right here in Brevard County. This conference is free and it's designed specifically for family caregivers. Whether you're new to caregiving or have been doing it for years, you'll leave with valuable information, new connections, and the reassurance that you don't have to do this alone. To register, please call Helping Seniors at 321-473 7770 or visit helpingseniors.org. I hope you'll join us this July 16th. Caregiving truly is a team effort, and sometimes the best thing that we can do is learn from one another and support one another. See you there.
You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard, and that music every Wednesday means it's time to get our show underway. Let's introduce the host of Helping Seniors of Brevard and the executive director as well. And he's got our very special guest, Dr. Lee Sheldon, with us. But here's Kerry Fink, the executive director and the host of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Hi, Kerry.
Hi, John Harper. It's always great to be here, Lunchtime Radio, right here on 90.3 FM, WEJF. And welcome if you're listening to us online at WEJF.net. And then also a special hello to those of you that find us as a podcast, as a growing number of folks do, since we make an effort to be sure that these programs are out wherever you will find a good podcast. So that could be anything from Apple iTunes, it could be from something like Amazon Music, it could be Spotify Radio, iHeartRadio, wherever you are used to finding podcasts, you will find Helping Seniors Radio there. And this is part of the education effort that President John Harper was talking about earlier as we were talking about this. 15 years ago, Helping Seniors was launched with the idea of informing and educating and connecting seniors and their families to resources that are going to make a difference for them. And today we have a wonderful resource available to us. He is none other than Dr. Lee Sheldon with Dr. Sheldon and Furtado Solid Bite. He's a noted area periodontist, gets called literally worldwide to speak at a lot of dental things, but he has been a great friend of helping seniors. He, just like John, was helping Joe Steckler, our founder, when Joe was first building up the Brevard Alzheimer's. And then they also stuck with Joe and said, hey, let's get helping seniors going because there is more work to be done for seniors. And good afternoon, Dr. Sheldon.
Good afternoon, Kerry, and it's good to be with you. Good to be with John. And and by the way, tomorrow I will be speaking outside of Washington D.C. So here we are together, and I'm looking forward to this. I love at this age to still be asked to speak. How much longer it's going to last, I don't know, but I still enjoy it. So. It'll be a good time. This will be RDH Under One Roof. That's the name of the organization. RDH meaning Registered Dental Hygienist. It's the largest dental hygienist meeting in the country, and so we'll have a good time.
Yeah, well, it sounds great, and much success with that. I know you were recently back from speaking in Oregon, and you're like the sought after guy for all that. But I was thinking, Dr. Sheldon, when I was thinking about you and John Harper. And even folks like Bill Johnson, who's an elder law attorney and Nancy Deerdorf, our operations director, all of you guys were helping Joe back in the day when Joe was getting Brevard Alzheimer's up and running. So I feel like the new kid on the block, 15 years in with this, with helping seniors. But, one thing I can say for certainty is the need for this, for finding solutions and trying to help navigate seniors to good, safe harbors for whatever challenges they're facing is really so important. And it wasn't that long ago, Dr. Sheldon, you and I did a radio show together where we were celebrating. I kind of jokingly say you're the father of dental implants, certainly along this part of Florida, because we did a show not so long ago where you were talking about 40 years of dental implants and thinking about how 40 years ago, when you successfully did that first implant, that was your first rodeo, but by now it's a whole different story, and the technology has grown. And I love that. That's kind of going to be the topic that we're going to hit a little bit today.
Well, it is. I mean, first of all, yes, all recognition to Joe, because Joe could have done anything in retirement, and what did he decide to do? He decided to serve seniors. That's what he did for the entire time, and he built an organization which keeps on going and going and builds and builds and builds with more and more allies that are becoming involved with us, or we're becoming involved with them. There's a lot of seniors organizations, and we're all working together, and This was Joe's dream, and it wasn't his dream just to have everybody working together. It was actually to be able to provide services for seniors, so the seniors had a resource to go to, and that's what we do at Helping Seniors of Brevard. You have a problem, you have a question, you want to know how to navigate the system. That's why you call us, and we help you figure that out. So good for Joe, and let this legacy continue for many, many, many years to come.
Yeah, no, it is important. We were just talking about that literally over the weekend. We had the opportunity. This is our car raffle season. It's our big fundraiser, which is why John did such an eloquent job of inviting folks to participate in what is now our 10th annual car raffle. And I remember Joe saying, "Kerry, it's not easy to raise money for a nonprofit." And so one of the reasons he and his good buddy AJ Hires got together and said, "Let's do a car raffle," was this kind of a fun way to do this. But the point that I wanted to get at was, as we were talking through it, this work is becoming more important than ever before simply because we get more seniors. First of all, more people turn 65 every day than ever before in history. And then we have people that are just flat living longer. I mean, Dr. Sheldon, it used to be unusual that somebody made it to 100, but I don't know if you saw any of the 250th birthday of America 4th of July festivities, but they had all these wonderful World War II veterans aging between 99 and I think the oldest gentleman was 107, and it's just not as unusual as used to be. And then on top of that, we have everybody moving to Florida, so we just keep getting more seniors by the day right here in Brevard County, and so I really think our work keeps expanding, Dr. Sheldon.
It is the boomer generation was the biggest generation, and now here we are.
Yeah.
And by the way, when I got started with Joe, it was before I was a senior. So, and here we are. And on the day of this recording, it is my birthday. So I'm feeling one more year right now.
Well, good, and many more. So enjoy your birthday, enjoy Washington, and just much continued success and much gratitude for all that you do. Because again, you're sort of in that same family with Joe. You don't have to do this, but you stay engaged. You're like the top person, the go-to person still in your dental practice. You talk about how you guys meet weekly on making sure that all the cases are being moved in the right direction and things like that. You're still speaking every place, and then you still find time to help us in the work of helping seniors. And so we really appreciate that. And I would say that when we titled this show, Finding Your Marcus Welby, I thought, that's really a neat name because, he was like your family doctor and just somebody who got involved in all parts of it. And here we are all these years after you've built, this father of dental implants. And then we have done many shows talking about the virtues of dental implants. We've done many shows where we've talked about the virtues of saving natural teeth. But you've been there to really see changes move through that. And one of the things that you often talk about, the key element in all of this, regardless of technology and all that, is really the trust that you have to build with the patient.
Yeah, it's true because as in everything, there are um, developments in the business end, and there is the business end of dentistry. We don't like to talk about it, but there is, and our goal has been to develop the business end in concert um, with trust and conversation and alternatives and options and understanding upside risks and downside risks before you spend any money with us at all. It's always been something that's been near and dear to my heart. And we've got 4 doctors now, and all are dedicated to presenting plans and talking with patients in exactly the same way. I think that's probably the most exciting part of the legacy part of that, if you will. Yeah, we look at Marcus Welby, and we're on Helping Seniors Radio, so I would imagine that everybody remembers Marcus Welby at the time. But if you're 20 years younger than I do, you're saying, "Who's Marcus Welby?" Marcus Welby was the quintessential family physician. There was a TV show talking about that. The star was Robert Young, And he was the person that you relied on. Even at that point, he was making house calls. No, we don't do house calls very much anymore. But he was the person that it wasn't the high tech, it wasn't the big procedure, it wasn't any of those things. It was here's an extension of my family. Here's the doctor that I can trust to give you the right information. Here's the doctor who asks questions before he gives answers, and he probably asks a lot more questions than the answers that he gives. It's the one who is dedicated to understanding, not to prescribing. And it doesn't mean the prescriptions aren't important, but frankly, these days, and it's not just confined to the health professions, it's all over. You've got to kind of watch and decide who's that person that you can really trust, who's that person you want to spend time with, who's that person you want to create a relationship with within the health profession. We're talking about dentistry or medicine or any of the other health professions. And there are a lot. It's a lot. So whether we're talking about a nutrition or chiropractor or physical therapy, I mean, there are a lot of people that we can develop relationships with. And the point is to develop the relationship. There is no one single answer to any problem. There may be a best answer for you, but frankly, the best answer for you might come from you because there's some considerations that you have that I, as a healthcare professional, don't. And so I want to be able to see it from your perspective and to be able to communicate from your perspective so that you can choose the option that's best for you. When we're talking about treatment planning, and dental treatment planning is a physical treatment plan, you've got to do procedures in order to be able to get the result. There are different alternatives and there are different price points, and that the determination of what you choose has to do with you and what you choose and where your priorities are. And that's our goal. And if we're talking in a Marcus Welby standpoint, it's listening before prescribing or listening before doing. That's why I still work. That's why I still work in this practice, because I'm proud of what the doctors are doing there, and if I can contribute to that, that's great. And so that is the Marcus Welby part of our practice. Yes, we're known as a high-tech practice. Yes, we have all the best technology. Yes, we own our own laboratory. All of those things that you want to hear, we do. But I don't think that's the primary thing here, Kerry. I think it's the listening that makes all the difference within our practice.
Well,
Um,
what you're saying is so important. I was asking the great Google to give me some background for the Marcus Welby show. I remember watching it growing up, but I love how
yeah,
it
but you're a
says it.
little kid. How much do you remember?
Remember shows. It was on the air, according to the great Google. Basically, it was the first show on ABC Network ever to rank number one, is what they're saying. And it aired basically between 1969 and 1976. And I love how they describe that Marcus Welby, MD, is an American medical drama television series that aired on ABC. It starred Robert Young as the title character, a family practitioner with a kind bedside manner who made house calls and was on a first name basis with many of his patients. And, I was thinking about the challenges, and I think this is a real challenge just within the health industry, right? Because I think doctors are generally very, very caring people and they want to do the best they can for the patients. But a lot of times, the system that they're forced into, they have to spend more time taking patient notes, maybe, than they do actually talking with you. And so the challenge that you always are faced with is getting such little patient doctor time. You'll spend some time with the person going over medication lists and things like that, but the doctor's time is very, very precious, and you just don't get much of that. And yet, when every time that you and I have talked, you've always kind of taken a different road on that. You've always wanted to make sure that in the practice you had the time to really visit with the patient and explain to them, here's what's going on, here are the paths and possible solutions. And so it really, we had written down a question: does the Marcus Welby still exist today? Well, I think it does, in terms of how you've built, you really try to run in terms of your practice, because all those things are true, except for the house calls, that you do take the time to really work with patients so that they get a full picture. Even like when we talk about things, Dr. Sheldon, like the Solid Bite Gives Back, which is that program that really helps charities in the community, like helping seniors, but also gives the opportunity for you to spend real quality time with a patient so that they get a full understanding. But then you, as the medical professional, you also have all the data points that you need to make sure that you're giving the best possible, I guess, recommendations or direction or thoughts or suggestions to the patient. Am I saying that right?
Well, it is. And let's go to the solid bed
Yeah.
program because we're nearing on $300,000 in
Wow.
donations right now. So, am I proud of that? Of course I am. And just so we'll give the plug early. Yeah, just call our office 321-259-8000. Say you heard us talking on radio, and I want to participate in the Solid Bite Gives Back program. That means for $50 or more, you get the complete examination, X-ray, CT scan, a 2-hour experience in our office, so that we are looking not just at what's going on right now, but predicting where we're going to be in the future, so your money is spent wisely. That's what we do in our office. And so, and we've been doing that, and to the point where now, yeah, $300,000 is coming up, and we hope it's coming up pretty soon. We're looking forward to going over that $300,000 threshold in donations. So yeah, so give us. But if we're talking about where we are physically in this universe right now, besides our being in a brand new state of the art office and all those things, I think what I look forward to most, besides seeing patients, and I still see patients the equivalent of a day a week, sometimes a little bit more. I think what I look forward to more than anything else, Kerry, is the doctor meeting. We have a
Yeah.
doctor meeting every Tuesday at 4 p.m. And in that doctor meeting, we'll go over complex cases to talk about different approaches that we can take. Now, not everybody qualifies for the doctor meeting. I'm talking about patients. I mean, if you want us to talk about you, that's fine. Most of the cases are kind of routine. But we see so many complex cases that even if you're seeing 5 complex cases a week, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot within a dental practice. And the 4 of us sit down and we map out the plan that we think, or the plans, because we talked about there are different price points for depending upon the services that you do. We talk about the plans so that when we're meeting with you after we've done the examination, we can give you the different choices. So you can say, here are your choices. Here's what you're going to end up with. Here's what's going to cost. Then you have the opportunity of looking at it from a number of different perspectives, including price, because dentistry costs money, so that you can make the best decision for yourself. Years ago, I came up with this statement. I probably didn't introduce it. Maybe I stole it from somebody else. But the most expensive dentistry is the dentistry that has to be redone. And that actually is a statement that's followed me throughout my lecture career as well. How many times do you see something that was done and the person couldn't afford to take it to completion, and therefore you spent the money on the root canal, spent the money on the crown, whatever it was, when there were much better ways to spend your money and maybe extract that tooth that required a great deal of treatment in order to be able to conserve your resources and be able to spend your money in the best way possible. So, and I've seen it because, as you know, I was a surgeon for many, many years, where I was extracting teeth that had already been treated once. And could we have extracted that tooth and made the decision to extract the tooth before all that treatment was done, rather than say, oh, well, now it has to be extracted? And the answer is not every case. No, not every case. But in many cases, yes. And that's why we spend so much time at the beginning talking with you and assessing what can be done and what can't be done, and what your habits are that may be deleterious to your dental health. And we've got to consider that as well. before we make before we make the decisions that we do. The only way we can do that is time, and that's why the new patient experience is a 2-hour experience. It isn't a quick exam and you need this, or it isn't an exam and a cleaning and the doctor will look at you. That's not the way we work in our practice. Everybody gets the extensive examination because we don't want to. Are we going to miss something from time to time? Sure. Are changes going to occur in your life where we weren't able to predict it? Sure. But we want to minimize that as much as possible so that you're spending your money wisely, and that the treatment plan you predict or that you do is a predictable plan, which is going to have long-lasting benefits, long-lasting results.
Yeah, in kind of keeping with the Marcus Welby MD theory or theme of this program, I was thinking about, but you really kind of exemplify that because I have seen you talk a great deal about, you guys are known for excellent cosmetic dentistry. If somebody wants that perfect smile, we've done TV programs about that and how you can achieve that, and we did a TV show actually with Dr. Matt Sheldon, where we was talking about even some more inexpensive ways to really perk up your smile and things like that. So you have a lot of background in that, but then you also invest a lot of time into saving teeth. And I like how you talk about the predictability down the road. So when we come back, we're going to get ready to take our mid-show break here in just a moment. But when we come back, really want to get into what you've seen change, like the modern healthcare world is getting so much more technical. I think that has good parts and bad parts. And let's see if we can maybe unpack some of that in the second half of the show. Before we get to the mid show break, Dr. Sheldon, if somebody wants to learn about Solid Bite Gives Back and maybe schedule that initial visit, what's the best way for them to access that?
Just contact us, call us 321-259-8000, or you can schedule online as well, www.solidbite.com. And you'll be able to schedule, just let them know that you heard us on radio. And one of the people that answers the phone, everybody knows about that Solid Bite Gives Back program, and you'll be able to schedule a visit and be able to uh, donate to Helping Seniors of Brevard and get the examination at no charge.
Yeah, we sure do appreciate it. It's a big help to us, but we really believe in it because it seems like it's a good thing for patients and a great thing for the doctor, and it ends up with good dental care. Well, with that, we'll kind of jump into our mid show break. We're going to be right back and continue this conversation called Finding Your Marcus Welby. And we're talking with noted area periodontist, Dr. Lee Sheldon. Stay with us.
And you're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard on this Wednesday afternoon with your host, Kerry Fink, and our special guest for this Wednesday, Dr. Lee Sheldon. Good conversation. We'll get back to more of that in just a moment. John Harper here with you, President of Helping Seniors of Brevard, and I'd like to take a moment to invite you to take part in one of our favorite traditions. Coming up, it's the 10th annual Helping Seniors Choose Your Adventure car raffle. This year, one lucky winner will choose from 7 brand new 2026 vehicles. And whether you love a sporty convertible, a rugged pickup, a family SUV, or a stylish sedan, there's something for everyone at this year's Choose Your Adventure car raffle. Now, the grand drawing will be held on Sunday, October the 25th, during our special Sunday at the Museum celebration at the American Muscle Car Museum in Melbourne. And the best part is you don't have to be present to win, but every raffle ticket also serves as your admission to this fun filled afternoon at one of the nation's most remarkable private automobile collections. It's incredible. If you've not been there, you've got to see it. And normally it's not open to the public. Most importantly, though, every ticket purchase helps Helping Seniors continue to provide free information, education, advocacy, and our senior information helpline for seniors and their families throughout Brevard County. Tickets are just $25 each or 5 for 100. And you can purchase your tickets at 321 473 7770. That's 321 473 7770. Or visit helpingseniors.carraffle.com. One more time, that's helpingseniors.carraffle.com if you want to go online and purchase your tickets. Thanks for all of your support for Helping Seniors of Brevard, and our founder, Joe Steckler, always reminded us to keep it going. Seniors need us, and we're trying to make that happen. Good luck, and we hope to see you on Sunday, October the 25th, or better yet, behind the wheel of your brand new car. And that music means it's time to get back to more of our interesting discussion this afternoon on Helping Seniors of Brevard with your host, Kerry Fink. Kerry is also the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, and our special guest, our longtime favorite guest, Dr. Lee Sheldon. And gentlemen, good to be back with the two of you. And before we get back to the interesting conversation that you had going, want to make mention of the fact that someone who had been a very special part of this show for many years is no longer with us. And Jim Votro, unfortunately, a name that many of you have known throughout the years, passed away recently. And it's a sad loss, a tragic loss. He was very special to all of us at Helping Seniors of Brevard, and he was a good friend of mine, and he is certainly missed. And I wanted to make mention of that before we go any further, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you, John. I know Dr. Lee Sheldon. You also we both had the privilege of working with John, and it was always a pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, Jim was the guy who got the mechanics going. You would hear him on radio every once in a while. John and John, you and Jim were such great friends. I mean, just to have that kind of relationship for so many years. So, my condolences to you on your loss
Thank you.
and to the loss of all of us. But understand where John is and where Jim has been, and that was radio was his life and is your life too, John. And the fact is that even in retirement, Jim decided this is what he wanted to do. He said, I've got the skill, I've got the talent, I know what to do, I know how to get this together, I know how to make this work. And so, what Jim would do would be to put together this program, and not just, by the way, the most difficult program to put together is the one that we're doing right now because I'm a pain in the neck. I can't show up at the studio. And so what Jim would do would be to make sure that all the bells and whistles, and these were, it shouldn't be bells and whistles. Actually, all of the mechanics were put together so I can do this from my house, or I could do it from the office, or occasionally I was on the road. Whatever it was not easy. But Jim would make it go well, and he'd have a smile on his face the entire time. And so, yeah, we thank Jim for all of the contributions that he made to helping seniors of Brevard and really to the public, because he was in major outlets during his
Absolutely.
working.
He did so much, gentlemen, and to our audience to make this show happen. Lee, you put it so well on the fact that Jim made it seem easy for us here on the microphone side, but behind the scenes there was a lot of things that had to happen in order to make this show launch on Helping Seniors of Brevard. And Jim was the person who was able to do it. He loved it, and he looked forward to being here, especially Kerry and Lee, with the two of you. And Lee, you were, I think, Jim's favorite person, and Kerry, he admired you as well. So, Jim Votro, or JV as I called him, he and I were the odd couple, but we always we always got along, and even when we disagreed, we always disagreed with respect and trust and confidence toward each other. So he will be missed, but not forgotten, because every time we hear that music, every time we're on the air, we'll be thinking of JV Jim Votro.
Yeah, no doubt. Just a postscript on what you were saying. What people may not know is that you, John Harper, and also Jim Votro, you guys were real heroes. I remember a radio show we had done with Dwight Bell of Wings of Grace, and he was a helicopter pilot, and that's of course what Jim's role in back in the war days was, and he was rescuing folks and doing all kinds of things overseas with that, and just the stories that you guys would share whenever we do Veterans Day programming and things like that. So thank you both for your service. But the other thing that people may not realize is what a force Jim was behind the scenes, because not only was he in charge of helping us get the broadcast together, but he was always a very, very big advocate for something that's a very important challenge for seniors in our county, but it's really nationwide, and that is affordable housing. And as you guys know, Jim was a very big proponent of trying to learn all he could and help us to carve a path out in these tiny houses, because he felt that was one way that seniors could have independent living and maybe do it on an affordable scale, because that seems to be one of the top challenges that we have in our community. So we love Jim and we miss him, but as Jim was that same personality as Joe Steckler. You guys got to keep this going. Seniors need you. So that's what we are about. And thank you for helping us in the work of helping seniors, all of you. And the conversation that we're having today is kind of in one way, it's a throwback to the 60s, because we titled it Finding Your Marcus Welby. And then what we've been talking with about is noted area periodontist Dr. Lee Sheldon, who also volunteers his time on our board. He's a very much a sought after speaker. In fact, we're hearing tomorrow he's on his way to DC to be speaking with a group up there. But the thing that I wanted to have us kind of launch this second half of the show talking about is what I call modern healthcare, and I want to share, Dr. Sheldon, kind of two real quick stories and see where this kind of leads us. Yesterday, I'm standing in our senior resource center, and we have a lady by the name of Tammy Lieberg, who's an ARNP. She has a company called Senior Solutions Mind and Body, and I love what she does. She is a nurse practitioner that takes care of patients in their home. So in an odd way, she is like a modern day Marcus Welby, MD. And she says what she loves to do is help people with what, as she explains, is called transitional care. This is where somebody has been in the hospital, maybe they had to go to rehab, and now they're being safely discharged to come home. And so she is the first person that goes back in and sits down with the patient and perhaps the family, and they're trying to sort out the roadmap for things that go forward. Because again, the patient just got home, they can't really physically necessarily travel to a doctor's office, so she is now making this home call. And the conversation that she was having with Nancy and I yesterday was, she goes, I don't know what's up with this, but she said, I'm really running into so many patients having trouble with their prescriptions. And so, Dr. Sheldon, what she said is, she said, what happens is, you go to the hospital, the first question they ask is, give me your list of prescriptions. And then they put it in there, and then they send you home with a list of prescriptions. She said, I was just talking to one of my patients today whose blood pressure was so low, it was dangerous. And so she sits down with him and looks through all the medications and find out that he's taking medications because they remember specialists prescribed this, then the hospital said this, and the original doctor had that. And the patient has all these medications at home, taking a few that lower the pressure, one that raises the pressure. And so she goes, really, this is why it's so important that somebody takes time with the patient. And Dr. Sheldon, you used that word at first, you called it trust. There has to be somebody who's willing to step up and really be that person in that role of trust to help guide somebody, because we don't know what we're doing, Dr. Sheldon.
You look at where healthcare has gone, and healthcare has gone into units.
Mhm.
I've got this much this much time in order to be able to spend with the patient. If I spend any more time with the patient, I won't get paid. Now, in dentistry, you get paid for services. You don't get paid for diagnosis. But in routine general healthcare, unless you're going into surgery or some kind of treatment, you are being paid as a doctor for assessment. You're getting paid less and less. And I'll tell you an experience that I had, and I've talked about this on the air, and I certainly talk about it in my lectures. There was a very, very good friend of mine who had gone to the hospital and was told she was going to die in 3 months. And I used whatever influence, if I have influence, but certainly contacted people who I knew who could help her. And now it's almost 3 years later, and she's very vital and doing very, very well. Well, what does that mean? It means that essentially you choose a healthcare provider, and then you're depending upon the healthcare provider for information, but you want to be able to ask questions. So I obviously have some influence, so I was able to go to a different doctor and be able to work on a program. But what was interesting, Kerry, was this. Even though the doctor I work with, I mean, I just showed up at his office, and he spent nearly half an hour with me just talking about this friend of mine in order to be able to get her on the right track. Um, she was depending an awful lot on PAs, and it was the PAs who had the time. And so now you're working not with a doctor. Okay, so we go back to Marcus Welby from 50 years ago. All right, who is the Marcus Welby right now? Well, frankly, the doctors don't have the time to be Marcus Welby's and still be able to make a business, meaning a practice that's going to work. And so then we're dependent upon other people. And so you gave your example, and in this case, she was working with two different PAs, and I'm sure with the doctors behind the scenes giving some guidance, but still, it was working with the PAs who were able to spend the time, who were able to ask the questions, who were then able to define the answers. And frankly, the patient had to change her lifestyle as well. She had to make some major changes. Really, the changes that she made that are resulting in where she is today. But still, you need to be able to talk. You need to be able to work with somebody who's knowledgeable. You need to work with somebody who's going to be able to sort out your prescriptions. You need to be able to understand that a doctor who's writing a prescription often doesn't take the time or doesn't have the time to assess all of the other prescriptions that you're on to know how those prescriptions are going to interact and how they may work to your detriment in that combination rather than to your success. So yeah, um, just just because you have checked the box saying I've gone to my doctor does not necessarily mean that you've had the full assessment, that you've looked at risks and rewards and made the best determination for yourself. And so there are ancillary people out there who can help you these days. And again, there are benefits and risks to this as well. But these days, it is beneficial to use some artificial intelligence. Some of the big ones, and for assessment, I happen to like Grok, Grok, because the research end of Grok seems to be on top of it. I'm sure there are others that are good as well, where you can feed all your prescriptions into that, and Grok can at least give you some kind of guidance. Don't go with the guidance from Grok, but at least understand that Grok is going to take those prescriptions that you can't spell, don't even understand, and is going to put them into perspective. So now you know what questions you can ask when you go to your healthcare provider. And whether you see that healthcare provider who happens to have an MD or a DO next to his or her name, or whether you're seeing a nurse, or whether you're seeing a nurse practitioner, or a PA, or whatever person you have, at least you're going into it with some background knowledge so that you can ask the correct questions for yourself, and so your time is spent wisely. Um, AI can be a tremendous advantage. And so if you look at AI and then you feed everything in and then it says this, you can even ask AI, what questions should I be asking my healthcare provider? And AI, one of these systems, and I gave you the one that I use, will provide you with that list of questions so that you're prepared to ask those questions when you make that valuable healthcare visit.
You know, what you're saying is so important. I'm gonna come back and ask you a question in a second about what I call practical advice, how seniors um, should be taking the information they're receiving if they're confronted with like major medical decisions. And there's two things I wanted to mention real quickly. There's a couple of events coming up that I want to make sure everybody gets on their calendar. They're both very RSVP driven because space is limited for each of these events, and lunch is provided, which is the other reason we have to know you're coming so that we know to plan a lunch and plan a place for you to sit, because we expect both of these to be completely uh, full events. The first one is actually coming up just around the corner. It's on Thursday, July 16th. It's our first ever caregivers conference. And if you're listening at the start of the show, you may have heard Jennifer Barton, who is the owner of Seniors Helping Seniors. She's got a lot of background in things having to do with home care. She's a regular guest with us on Helping Seniors Radio, and she is also, just like John and just like Dr. Sheldon, spent a long time helping us build the Helping Seniors um, organization so that it can be effective. And she has kindly um, agreed to be our moderator. So it's going to be a panel discussion. So one of the things that I love about this, Dr. Sheldon, is it's not just going to be a, an expert pontificating from the front of the room. The way that they do these caregivers conferences, everybody gets to meet who's at the front of the room, but then it really becomes a roundtable discussion. And what I've experienced is a lot of times somebody in the audience will have a solution to somebody else's problem, because one caregiver will be saying like, I'm running into this, and somebody else in the audience will raise their hand and say, you know what, I went through that, this is how I tackled that. And it just gives everybody a little bit of hope and encouragement. So this is a free event, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have some really expert resources. The folks from Aging Matters are going to be with us. The folks from Brevard Alzheimer's are going to be with us. The Alzheimer's Association folks are going to be with us. Flourish Research is going to be with us. It's a lot of very good names that have a lot to offer. Folks like Carlos Cuesta with Synergy Home Care. Already mentioned Jennifer Barton with Seniors Helping Seniors. There's going to be a lot of good people who are donating their time to make sure we get good resources to caregivers. But that is Thursday, the 16th. And you're going to need to call to RSVP because that is limited to 45 seats total. And I think we're already like 2/3 of the way there. So if you're going to get on this, please call Nancy or one of our great volunteers at 321-473-7770 and say, I'm up for that. It's going to be right there at our Senior Resource Center, 1344 South Apollo. And then the other date, Dr. Sheldon, and this is what kind of brought this to my thinking, was when you were talking about AI. We're doing a thing that we're calling Scam Jam. And originally I was going to call it AI Edition. The date for this, so you can jot it down, is Friday, August the 7th. Now, we did this program kind of last year. It was standing room only. There was more than 90 people there. We hold this one at Zon Beachside, which is that beautiful facility. I call it like it's really great assisted living. They have a memory care facility, but then they have the beautiful residences at Zon, which is a independent living thing. But they're going to take care of us that day. We get to meet in the lighthouse, which is their meeting room there. They're going to provide lunch and everything. But again, because space is limited, lunch is provided. You have to RSVP. It's free. But in talking with Daryl Greer, who's one of the head guys with Senior Planet, which is a division, they call it OATS, Older Adults Technology Services from AARP. They are literally working with organizations like ourselves all over the country, helping us learn how we can help seniors. Basically, they call it digital navigation. And I said, I want to call this the Scam Jam edition for AI. He said, Kerry, he said, I love that. He said, but I'd like to rename your program if you're okay with that. He said, I'd like for you to call it What AI Is. He said, because I want seniors to understand that there are things you need to be careful with AI, But to your point, Dr. Sheldon, he said, I also want to bring out the good that it brings to our seniors because of the advances and things that we're going to be able to get out of it healthcare wise. So he says, I don't want to leave people being afraid. I want them to feel empowered to be able to use this technology. And Dr. Sheldon, I kind of feel like we're on the golden age of seniordom, because this AI tools, when used correctly by people who really have the experience and know what they're doing, is really going to give us much better outcomes, don't you think?
I think so. I mean, I use AI nearly every day now. In patient care, not as much, but there are times. I'll give you an example, a concrete example. A patient was having a significant health reaction. I'm not going to go into detail, but when I was seeing the patient, I was seeing the patient for the first time, and she was having a significant problem. And I looked at her medication list, and I said, so I fed the medication list into AI, and I just talked to whichever one. I don't know which one I was using, but I used three of them. And I talked into it, and the patient and AI came back and said, yes, one of the major side effects of this particular medication is blah. And so then it's a matter of determining what to do about that. And of course, I'm not a physician, but at least I was able to get that information. And you can get that information too. You don't have to pay for it.
Right.
There are paid services where you buy a certain amount of AI per month, and it costs something like $20 or $30 to get the services that I need. But for limited services, which essentially is limited time, not limited resources, you can go to Grok, you can go to ChatGPT, you can go to Claude, you can go to Perplexity. There are a number of different ones that you can go to in order to be able to start feeding information into it. And it's just a matter of pushing the microphone button on your phone and talking to it and saying, hey, this is what's going on in my life. You don't have to be very specific. You might want to have a list of medications. If we're talking about medications, and ask, what are the side effects of these? Or I'm having this particular side effect. Could it be related to this medication? And it gives you a tool. The most vulnerable person, I don't care whether you're buying roofing or plumbing or healthcare, the most vulnerable person is the person who doesn't know anything about it. Well, most of us don't know a lot about anything, but all of a sudden with AI, we can know a lot more than we thought. And what AI does is not just give you a long list of things where you have to read 3 or 4 or 5 pages. It will give you a good summary so that you are all of a sudden educated in an area that you wouldn't have been educated about otherwise, so that you go into the healthcare professional, whether it's a dentist or physician or other healthcare person, that doesn't make any difference. It's the fact that you have some knowledge behind you so that you can ask pertinent questions and get better answers.
You can almost have your own Marcus Welby, MD. Well, that is about the time for the show that we have on today. Thank you, Dr. Sheldon. And again, if you're interested in the Scam Jam, What is AI? Give us a call, 321-473-7770. That is happening August the 7th. And again, the Caregivers Conference is Thursday, July 16th. And Nancy or one of our great volunteers will be happy to give you the information on that. Well, that's about the time we have for Helping Seniors Radio this week. We'll look forward to seeing you right back here next week on Wednesday lunchtime on 90.3 FM WEJF.
You've been listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard, a program for and about seniors, their families, and friends, heard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock, right here on 90.3 FM. Your host, Kerry Fink, will be back next week with another special guest. You're listening to WEJF 90.3 FM in Palm Bay, where the time is coming up on 1 o'clock.